Happy Thanksgiving month, everybody, and Tony here with my review of Offenbach's Le Conte Hoffmann with once again conductor Bertrand de Billy, which I saw last night at the Staatsoper unter den Linden. This marks the second time I caught Lydia Steyer's production of Offenbach's Le Conte Hoffmann because I wanted to see, hear, and witness Nina Minasyan perform the role of Olympia, considering that 9 years ago, I first caught her as the Queen of the Night from Mozart's Die Zauberflöte at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. Considering that it had been 9 years since I first heard about this coloratura soprano, I was quite excited to see how her career was going to blossom, and I was absolutely amazed at how far she has come, not only as a singer, but also as an overall performer. She had been performing the likes of Olympia, the Queen of the Night, and Lucia Ashton, as well as many roles designated for a lyric coloratura soprano in a lot of the world's opera houses. And what I've heard last night was a much creamier tone, a fuller sounding voice, and a lot more agility that she was able to muster as Olympia. She was not one of those super high, tweety, bird, chirpy, soprani leggeri that would be associated with Olympia, especially when it comes to the likes of Nathalie Dessay being one of the prime sopranos singing her, especially during her vocal prime, as well as predecessors such as Mado Robin and Madi Mesplé, as well as the more bell-like crystalline Olympias found in Roberta Peters, Rary Grist, and Ruth Welting, as well as Arlene Auger and Ingeborg Hallstein. But what Nina Minasyan was able to muster last night was a lot of disciplined singing, complete with sufficiently clear stratospheric high notes and a darling stage presence that was able to be endearing as well as ensure that she remained as disciplined as a performer, which I had to give a lot of credit for. Granted, there was a little bit of the accident concerning one of the lights that accidentally fell when Coppelius's underlings were dragging her outside the stage, but at least Nina Minasyan was able to keep her cool and was able to soldier on throughout the performance with a lot of professionalism as well as absolutely fine vocal musicianship, which she was able to muster. There was not one moment where I thought that there was some muddiness. There was creamy clarity all around, and I have to salute Nina Minasyan for having such a wonderfully blossoming career, which she was able to muster as well as take to her fullest advantage with great discipline, fabulous musicianship, and a whole lot of appreciation and love for her craft. So brava to Nina Minasyan for striking a continuously strong impression on me as Olympia, and here's also hoping that she continues to be as disciplined, charming, and absolutely gorgeous as a singing actress. Striking again as Giulietta was Zonia Heranen, which she was able to sing her lines with grand beauty, absolute elegance, and a nobility which made her all the more alluring. She managed to be a lot more vocally present, and her high notes as well as her overall tone grew with absolute beauty and charm to the point where I was absolutely astounded at her vocal miracle work. She was in wonderful form last night as Giulietta, and I also want to keep on encouraging her to keep on developing her coordinated chest tones and chest tones at that, so that her voice can sound a lot more present, a lot clearer, especially from the bottom, and make sure that when she develops her chest tones and coordinated chest tones, everything from the bottom notes to the middle notes to the top notes will be absolutely homogeneous all the way through and sound a lot more present. Nevertheless, I still have to give Sonia Haranen her flowers and just cheer her on for everything that she continues to accomplish as a beautiful singing actress. Emma Nikolovska was just as beautiful, charming, and absolutely brilliant as Niklaus. Her coordinated chest tones and her mastery of exceptional singing made her one of the shining stars not only of last night, but I'd also argue of today. She was just wonderful as Niklaus / the Muse. She knew how to navigate the top notes, the middle notes, and the low notes with aplomb, self-confidence, and an amazing amount of chutzpah. That is just the type of wonderful singing actress Emma Nikolovska was. And let's not forget about Julia Kleita, who returned as Antonia. Once again, she used her silvery lyric soprano voice to make the role shine all the way through. She continued to throw out some wonderful high notes, more specifically that cadenza high D, and just blasting that high D flat with pure abandon, thus showing a lot of brilliance and beauty. And although one could argue that there could have been a dramatic coloratura soprano singing Antonia, like we could have had someone like Hulkar Sabirova or Albina Shagimuratova, Anna Dorovsky, who was a former Olympia, or even Catherine Lewick or Jeanette Vecchione tackling her, I still have to give a lot of props to Julia Kleita for her wonderful musicianship as well as her darling stage presence that made Antonia work in her favor. Sure, I still have some issues with her chest tones because it does say a lot when even the likes of Joan Sutherland in her prime, as well as Edda Moza during the times when she sang Queen of the Night and even tackled Antonia. And lest I forget about Valerie Masterson, Ileana Kutrubash, and Jory Bouet, and even super old school singers like Emma Luer, who was a wonderful coloratura soprano, had a lot more coordinated chest tones, especially when singing Antonia. And I still would love to have Julia Kleita develop those coordinated chest tones so that her low notes would be a lot more vocally present. Nevertheless, Julia Kleita's musical prowess, as well as her flair for drama, made her thoroughly brilliant as Antonia. Brigitte Eisenfeld was still as endearing and exceptional in her non-spoken, let alone non-singing part as the old lady. Bene Patti continues to show ebullience, brilliance, and charisma as Hoffmann, although sometimes he still gives into that bad habit of crooning. Nevertheless, he was still a very involving singing actor, and yes, while I do still yearn for the manlier sounding Hoffmanns, such as René Maison, Roy Jobin, Richard Tucker, and even the likes of Nikolai Gueda and Kenneth Regal, not to mention Plácido Domingo in his prime, even the likes of Tony Ponce and Georges Thiel and Agostino Lazzari. Oh, and lest I forget about Neil Shikoff, Francisco Araiza, and Jerry Hadley, I still have to give my flowers to Bene Patti for such an absolutely stirring and brilliant performance as Hoffmann, all thanks to his trademark charisma and trademark wonderful performing prowess. Roberto Tagliarini continues to be smooth sounding, sly, and venomous as all the four villains, Landorf, Coppelius, Docteur Miracle, and Dappertutto, all thanks to his smooth sounding and wonderfully round bass baritone / basso cantante voice. Yes, one could ask for a rounder sounding Landorf like the ones found in George London, or let's say Nicolas Guselev. One could sound for a deeper sounding Coppelius or a rounder sounding Coppelius found in Gabriel Bacquier, or once again George London, a more acidic toned Miracle found in Samuel Raimi, or even a smoother sounding Dappertutto found in José Vendôme or Ernest Blanc. But I still have to give Roberto Tagliarini lots of kudos for his exceptional performing prowess and for really stealing the show as all the four villains. He was in absolutely fabulous vocal shape and form, and he managed to sell the goods as all the four villains, both vocally and theatrically. Speaking of selling the vocal and theatrical goods, Ya-Chung continues to be just as much of a vocal miracle as all the four servants, André, Cochenille, Franz, and Pitichinaccio, and this is also attributed to his sterling character tenor voice that has bel canto spelled all over it from bottom to top, as well as showed a lot of continuous musical discipline. That is just how much of a vocal miracle Ya-Chung Huang remains, and I am absolutely in for it in terms of what he was able to accomplish with every single vocal acting that he had to do. And he just sold it all the way through as a thoroughly brilliant singing actor. Stefan Czerny was still a resonant Crespel. Manuel Winkler was also just as resonant and absolutely fabulous as Luther. Jaka Michelac continues to exercise nobility and absolutely fine singing as Schlemil. David Ostrek continues to be a tall and commanding Hermann. Alvaro Diana was able to exercise his light lyric tenor voice to also steal the show as Nathaniel. Florian Hoffmann's wonderful contributions as Spallanzani, all thanks to his trademark character tenor voice, can never ever be trivialized because he was as much of a brilliant vocal actor as he's always been. And I dare not forget about Natalia Skritska and her creamy mezzo-soprano voice being put to fabulous use as the ghost of Antonia's mother, in which she was able to sing so beautifully as well as evenly through all the registers. And there is a brilliant future awaiting Miss Skritska in roles such as Fricka from Das Rheingold and Die Walküre, as well as Mère Marie de l'Incarnation from Le Dialogue de Carmelite, unless they forget about the Kostelniczka from Jenufa and Herodias from Richard Strauss's Salome. So overall, the singing was continuously fabulous all the way through. I have to give a lot of props to Nina Minasyan for being an absolutely wonderful singing actress. She was able to exercise a lot of great respect, love, and admiration to her craft, and she was able to show all that with her performance as Olympia. She was thoroughly clear all the way through. She was able to master her singing technique so well with that creamy tone. And while there could have been a little bit more accuracy, especially in some of the highest notes, I still have to give loads and loads of kudos to Nina Minasyan for her fine vocal and theatrical prowess as this particular mechanical doll. And the likes of Pene Patti, Emma Nikolovska, Julia Kleuter, Sonja Heranen, Brigitte Eisenfeld, as well as Roberto Tagliavini and Ya-Chung Huang stealing the show, plus Stefan Czerny, Manuel Winkler, Natalia Skritska, Jaka Michelotz, David Ostrek, Alvaro Diana, and Florian Hoffmann were in their wonderful vocal primes in all of the roles that they sang in. They all deserve a lot of kudos and praise, and therefore a lot of acclaim for everything that they have accomplished. The conducting done by Bertrand de Billy was still as brisk and brilliant as ever, and sure, one can complain that he could use a little bit more depth in his conducting, but other than that, he was still a brilliant conductor who was able to be agile with his conducting all the way through. He was able to keep up that orchestra in great shape, and he was able to make sure that even some of the finer details were teased out, and he was a thoroughly brilliant conductor all the way through, and the chorus, orchestra, and extras of the Staatsoper unter den Linden were thoroughly brilliant, as well as the Corps du Ballet. So overall, Nina Minasyan's performance as Olympia was wonderfully charismatic, wonderfully charming, and she was able to grow in a lot more vocal creaminess. She may not be your typical chirpy coloratura / soprano leggero singing Olympia, but what she was able to accomplish as this mechanical doll, which she has been doing for many years, was thorough brilliance and absolute charm. And for those of you who caught this performance of Le Comte Hoffmann at the Staatsoper unter den Linden, what'd you think of it? Did you feel that Nina Minasyan as Olympia was brilliant as she's always been, and you felt like this role was tailor-made for her? Was there another singer who stole her thunder? Or did you feel like the singing, let alone Nina Minasyan's singing, was not to your liking? Please let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for my review of Offenbach's Le Comte Hoffmann starring Nina Minasyan as Olympia. Tune in next time for hopefully my review of either Wagner's Tristan und Isolde at the Deutsche Oper Berlin or Modest Mussorgsky's Kovanshina at the Staatsoper unter den Linden. So until then, happy Thanksgiving month, everybody!